Frederick Douglass said that power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did and never will. I think this quote today will embody what we're going to talk about for the next 45 minutes. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Vibe Cincinnati Being Empowered Speaker Series presented by the Cincinnati USA Convention and Visitors Bureau, where we believe that tourism empowers communities. My name is Jason Dunn, and I greet you on behalf of our CEO, Julie Calvert, our board of directors, staff of the Cincinnati CVB, and the entire Cincinnati hospitality community. The quote by Frederick Douglass really speaks to the purpose of today's presenter, specifically the mission of the organization. Roger Dow is the president and CEO of the U.S. Travel Association in Washington, D.C., based organization representing all segments of travel in America. U.S. Travel's mission is to increase travel to and within the United States. As the leading travel industry advocate, Dow and his team regularly confer with administration and congressional leaders to advocate and advance policies that benefit the broader travel industry. His efforts have resulted in major legislative victories, including securing pandemic-related relief for the hard-hit travel industry, establishing and renewing Brand USA, and a highly effective national travel and tourism promotional program, and procuring funds to maintain America's treasured national parks. Dow and the U.S. Travel are leaders of the Meetings Mean Business Coalition, which promotes and defends the value of face-to-face business meetings, trade shows, conferences, and conventions, as well as the Let's Go There Coalition, a domestic initiative to inspire future travel following steep declines associated with the coronavirus pandemic. Let's welcome Roger Dow. Roger, it's all yours, man.
Hey, Jason, it's great to be with you and all my friends in Cincinnati. Jason, you're such a dear friend. I've known you forever, and one of the great leaders, not only in Cincinnati, nationally, chairman of the National Coalition of Black Meeting Professionals, co-chair in the Events Industry Council, their Equity Task Force. You're really a major driver in this whole critical area we're going to is diversity and equity and inclusion in the travel industry. And the industry is really working hard to catch up. While we're doing an okay job, I think we can do a much, much better job in this area. And so I'm proud to be, along with you, on the board of directors of the Tourism Diversity Matters work group. And I think it's important to note that if you look at the travel industry, we've done a lot of research, and whether it become Black executives, women, Hispanics, over the term of a career, this is probably the best place to be. There's more lifetime earnings in the travel industry than any other area, any other industry. So that's why we have such a great opportunity. And if we really work out together to really increase more opportunities for more people. So Jason, I want to thank you for your insights along the way, your leadership and your cherished friendship. I thought I'd start by a little video, so I don't bore you to death, about who we are, who U.S. Travel is, but more important, who we are as an industry. And it really shows what we all do together and how important we are, not only to travel, but to the entire economy of the United States. So if we can roll the video, I'd appreciate it.
Travel. It starts as an intention to connect, explore, experience something new or familiar. The special moments we live through travel are possible because of the millions of workers who make every business trip, summer vacation, or weekend getaway the best America has to offer. Yet travel's benefits reach so much farther. It is America's ultimate opportunity, creating jobs that provide a quality life, powering growth for the U.S. economy, enhancing our national security while maintaining an efficient travel experience, showing the world what makes America great, all while creating memories and connecting us with one another. Travel to and within the United States employs 1 in 9 Americans and delivers $2 trillion to our economy, generating tax revenues that fund community needs. The many destinations, businesses, attractions, landmarks, natural wonders, and people that make up the travel industry are as dynamic and diverse as America itself, offering each visitor a unique view of why America is the world's best place to visit.
For over 75 years, the U.S. Travel Association has united the travel and tourism industry behind a voice that says, welcoming international visitors is critical to our economy and American jobs and our standing in the world. A modern air travel system is necessary to keep us competitive. Updating our infrastructure creates opportunity and keeps us better connected. Security and efficient travel are not mutually exclusive. We can and must have both. Promoting travel benefits communities across America and our country as a whole. Businesses and workers find real bottom line results when they meet face to face. And every American deserves to reclaim their vacation days and travel this great country. On behalf of our members and the entire industry, U.S. Travel takes on the complex issues to increase travel to and within the United States. We prioritize high-impact policies that grow every segment of America's travel economy and create good jobs that can't be outsourced. We identify opportunities, trends, and challenges. We deliver gold standard research that informs our industry and the policymakers that shape it. And finally, we engage the travel community, raising the profile of our industry in the eyes of our elected officials, the media, and the public. We proudly represent an essential component of our lives, our communities, and our country, travel. It's more than fun, it's serious business.
And it truly is serious business. When you think about it, what we do at U.S. Travel is we bring together the whole industry. I'm talking airlines, airports, lodging, all the fabulous destination organizations like Cincinnati together, cruise industry and attractions, and to talk about how to grow travel, not only within the United States, but to the United States. We do a lot of research and advocacy to really promote travel and try and stop things that hurt travel. And we've been doing that for a long time, but we've really had a pivot in 2020. 2020 became the most devastating and darkest time that I've ever faced. And I've been in this industry a long time. It probably was, 10 times worse than September 11th when we look back at it. And I don't want to dwell on too long, but I think it'd be good to just take a look back at what we as an industry went through in 2020. And I've done that in a quick little video I'd like to share. If we can roll the video of last year in review, and then we're going to put that year behind us and move forward.
The past 10 years has been the comeback decade for the travel industry.
The World Health Organization today declared the coronavirus a global pandemic.
CDC now advising all events with 50 or more people be canceled.
This afternoon, we're announcing new guidelines for every American to follow. Only essential businesses will be functioning.
The impact on the travel industry is worse than 9/11 and is forecasted to be worse than the Great Depression in 1933.
83% of travel businesses are small businesses, and these people cannot hang on for a very long time.
This bill will, as you say, throw an economic lifeline to businesses and to workers who are getting absolutely hammered by the coronavirus pandemic.
There's been one mistake, and they left out the tourism organizations in the PPP. They've got to fix that. Travel industry comes back, and we can bring the entire economy with us. We're the front door of economic development.
The health and safety is absolutely paramount, but we need to get the economy back on track.
It's our first virtual Capitol Hill Week. We're using every means possible to get our story across.
We started having conversations, and quite honestly, some of those conversations came out of the direct guidance of U.S. Travel.
While the data carries significant weight, it is your stories that show the reality behind the numbers.
After months of delays, disputes, and what seemed like endless debate, Congress finally cleared a $900 billion coronavirus relief package.
And most important, we were able to get PPP for the DMOs.
They had something to celebrate today in the East Room, the great outdoors.
What can we encourage people to do that's both safe for them and yet productive for the industry? Make plans.
Nothing replaces the one-to-one, face-to-face experience that only meetings and convention give.
But then as I look at this industry and I just turn it inward, I think about focusing on the right things. And these are uncomfortable conversations to have, but they're necessary conversations to have.
So we're in a unique position to employ a diverse cross-section of people.
If there's a resilient industry, this is it. We're living in it right now. And what I've been so happy about and so enthused about is that the industry has come together.
We as an industry will come out of this stronger than ever.
You got to come back better than you left. Safety is the new hospitality.
We're going to come back stronger and better than ever before.
In a year that's been like no other, we're going to continue to do what we've always done, fight for travel. Although we're not quite done yet, there's no doubt that by working together as one industry, speaking with one voice, we will build back stronger than ever.
You know, as we think back to 2020 and what a devastating year it was, let me put it in perspective. The industry lost $500 billion that at the beginning of 2020 we thought we had that wasn't there at the end of the year. When you look at the economic output, because we impact so many things as a travel industry, the country lost $1.1 trillion. But I think the worst part was that the number of unemployed, 5.6 million travel workers are out of work during the pandemic, and that we had 17 million workers. So that's, you know, that's basically, when you look at it, we're down almost 35–40%. And today, of all the unemployed people in the United States, 65%, even though we have 1 in 10 employees, 65% are in our industry. So that's why it's so important to bring the industry back. Some people say 2025. I'm not buying that. I think we can bring this industry back much faster. I think there's a lot of pent-up demand, but the recovery is going to be a long and it's going to be a winding road. When you really look at it, the bright spot has been domestic leisure. When you look, we're going to have a press conference in about an hour talking about a Harris poll of what Americans are saying about travel. And basically 72% of Americans are saying that they're planning to travel this summer. 2/3 of those people say they've already booked their trip. So we're looking for a much bigger summer, of course, than last year, when only 23% of people said they want to travel during the summer. So that's going to be important. We also have a bill in place with Congress. It's called the Hospitality and Commerce Job Recovery Act. And that's going to do several things to spur demand. In there is a travel tax credit for middle income and low income people to get them traveling again. And it sounds counterproductive, but when people travel, as you know, they spend more money. More people go to work, more people pay taxes. So it actually would be additive to the economy. Also, travel tax credits for professional meetings and events to get meetings and events back, which is going to be so important. And also to restore the deductibility of restaurant entertainment, which was cut a long time ago, and to help get our restaurants back. So that's going to be very important. So with your elected officials, you know, push them to say, hey, got to get this Hospitality and Commerce Job Recovery Act passed. And that's going to be very, very important. Another thing we've had, as you saw in the last video, we started a campaign called Travel Confidently. What we had to do in May is the whole industry had to get together and come together with protocols on travel, on safe travel. And I think the industry's done a phenomenal job. When you look at what they've done on airplanes, what they've done in lodging and attractions, we're really at a state of much higher health and safety. And I actually think going forward, health and safety is going to become the new hospitality. People are going to be just as concerned about what we provide from a hospitality, from a convention standpoint, as they do as far as the service and the facilities of hotels, et cetera. So I think that's here to stay, and it's going to be very important. I think we're hitting a tipping point with vaccination. We've got over 1/3 of Americans vaccinated. The Biden administration is pushing very hard to get that number up close to 70% by July 4th. And with that, I think we're going to get to that point where it's going to be extraordinarily safe to travel, which is the numbers are getting better and better. But we're fully going to have probably 30 to 40% of Americans, for one reason or another, will not get vaccinated. So one of the things we're against is having an absolute criteria that you must be vaccinated to travel. We think it'd be one of many criteria: be vaccinated, have a PCR test, having had COVID. There's many ways, but the bottom line is what's more important, that we have a layered health and safety program throughout the whole travel industry. And we came together in September and brought together 75 companies and organizations in the travel industry, chief marketing officers, that is, and to try and get a campaign to get Americans thinking about traveling again. And that was called the Let's Go There campaign, or Let's Go There Coalition. And the group came together, and we, last September, launched a campaign to talk to Americans about doing what they miss most. And that's thinking about planning to travel. And we were very careful not to be tone deaf. And we said, you know, when time is right, we're ready for you. And now the time is right. So we're going to now step up the Let's Go There campaign to push much harder for Americans now to book their travel, now that vaccinations are out there and they're much more willing. Let me roll for you a quick video of the Let's Go There campaign, which has been phenomenally successful. Over 4,000 organizations are using the Let's Go There materials. Okay, roll the next video, please.
Someone once said, life is what happens when you're busy making plans. So let's go there. Let's make some plans. Let's feel that feeling once again as you search and imagine that perfect getaway. So let's book a trip. Let's aim for the horizon and shoot for the moon. When the heart says go, we'll be ready. Let's go there.
And as I said, the next phase of this campaign that's just starting now is to really encourage Americans to book. As I said, the Harris poll said, you know, over 3/4 of Americans say they're going to travel this summer. So anything we can do to push that along for people to travel safely is going to be important. So leisure travel has really been the savior of the industry. Leisure travel's still down probably about 25-30%, but it's not enough to bring the industry back. I mean, you've got to look at business travel, meetings and events travel, and international. Until we can bring back those three segments, we're still going to have challenges, and that's so important to bring people back. We're pushing the Biden administration, the CDC, to really give clear guidelines and to differentiate the difference between a planned professional meeting or event than just a mass gathering. I mean, when you think about it, when it comes to meetings and events, we control everything. We control registration, we control the spacing of the aisles, where people sit, how receptions, how food is delivered. It's an extraordinary safe environment. You're much safer, actually, I think, going to a meeting or event than maybe going to your local Costco or grocery store. So, but we've got to get that distinction made, and that's very important. The other thing we've got to do is work on opening international travel. International is $240 billion to the U.S. economy that we totally lost this past year. And we're working very hard. We had 23 CEOs just issue a letter to the president, pushing very hard among dialogue we've already had. We've been talking to Jeff Zients, who is the White House COVID czar, so to speak, and he's a very influential person. The new Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo, working with her, Homeland Security. And our push is to let's look at a private partnership, private-public partnership to open up UK. Our thought process is if we can open UK first, because they're very far along in the UK with vaccines, with willingness to travel and all that. And we think if we can open up UK, then we can begin opening up other countries. And Canada will be very important to follow, and Europe and Mexico. But so we're going to start with UK, and we want this to be science and data-based and not just whimsical. And that is one of the challenges we face in the country. Until we have a country where the protocols are the same and the travel restrictions and gathering numbers are the same, we've got a problem. Same thing around the world. When you travel anywhere in the world, you know from a security standpoint what to expect. You may have to take off your shoes, take out your laptop, go through a metal detector, but it's the same whether you're in China, Germany, Mexico, UK, wherever. We've got to get to that same situation where the protocols around the world are the same, and that's very important. And opening up international travel, of course, is very important to us for IPW, which I hope a lot of you will be at. That's going to be in Las Vegas in September, and that'll be the first big international travel show in the world. coming up in September in Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is ready and we're ready. And now we're going to open up travel, hopefully get things opened up by this summer, probably July is what we're shooting for to get that done. Another thing we're working on is Brand USA. Brand USA was so critical. We got Brand USA passed in 2010. It was renewed several times through 2027. The challenge Brand USA has is the way Brand USA is funded is visitors pay a small fee of $14 to last for 2 years to come to the US. $10 goes into a pot to promote America. The problem is this past year, that $10 hasn't been going into the pot. So we're pushing Congress for a one-time emergency funding for Brand USA of $250 million to make sure this important entity is up and willing to bring the world back, and bring the world back not only to Florida and California, but to Cincinnati and to the rest of the world. And that's so important because Brand USA really levels the playing field and enables you to use your precious dollars to target the markets you want to go to. And I think that's so important. So I think we're going to come back as an industry stronger than ever. Everything we're seeing is pent-up demand is very strong. We've got to get corporate travel policies to have people travel again, get companies to put people on the road. And I think when people go to a meeting or go to a trip, they're going to see it's safe, and then it'll grow upon itself. And I think it's going to come back stronger than ever. So I just want to thank you for inviting me today to share a few thoughts. But that's a maybe 30,000 foot level. And Jason, if you want to get a little closer to home, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and thanks for the overview of what you're doing. And I'm shaking my head all the things that are happening. You have something in the next half an hour or two, so we're gonna keep moving. And those who have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll answer as many as we can within the next 20 minutes or so. But I want to start with you said that there's some things that you're actually lobbying for or advocating for within Congress. Kind of how can we help as a Cincinnati delegation and the hospitality community here with our individual congresswomen and congressmen?
Well, the most important thing is your local congressmen, congresswomen care about you. They don't care about me. I'm just a hired hand in DC. They don't care about me whatsoever. But when you, the local constituents, really bring home, and I think it's so important to talk about the small businesses, talk about the restaurants, talk about the tour guides, talk about the people who are out of work and what it means to bring travel. It was said years ago, decades ago, that as goes General Motors goes U.S. economy. I maintain now, as goes the travel industry goes U.S. economy. So your voice, your local voice is so critical. Get them behind that Hospitality and Commerce Act, but bring home the stories. Tell your story to them because it's a story that just needs to be told, and it's one of the best ways to bring back the Cincinnati economy.
So I know that oftentimes our industry has a what I've said over the last years is a self-esteem issue, meaning that we're focused only on insular activities and not really focus on the outward or external pieces. So it's, to me, to hear you say that, I think is encouraging, because oftentimes we're caught on just our bottom line and not really how we impact the ripple effect between the community. So as you're saying, tell the stories. Don't be shy about what it is that we're doing and how we're doing it. And we should lobby individuals to understand that. I think tourism, again, empowers communities and frankly helps with jobs, economic empowerment, et cetera. And I think as we've learned over the past year, particularly after George Floyd and the pandemic kind of coattailing each other, that there's we made an impact, and without us, the country is not really fully functioning. So have you met any challenges with CVBs or the hotel communities kind of talking about themselves, and how would you encourage them to get over the insular kind of mentality?
Well, yeah, I think you make a good point, Jason. We're extremely good at talking to each other. We do a great job in the trade publications and all of that. But the bottom line, we've got to get outside. We've got to be talking to the local media, the local press about how important this industry is, and like what you do in your world. You know, you represent adult education. I mean, when people stop going to college, if they don't go to one of your conferences, a professional meeting, they're not learning anymore. And I think we got to frame meetings and conventions not just a way to get dollars into a city, but it's adult education. It's how families build memories. It's how products are sold. You know, when there's a big convention, it's just not a matter of what they spend in the hotels, but it's all the commerce that's done. I mean, if there's not a big trade show in, let's say, Las Vegas for heavy equipment, they don't sell John Deere tractors and they don't sell all of our products. So That's what's so important. So we got to get people to understand that this is the fulcrum to the U.S. economy and how we grow. Nothing happens till someone makes a trip, and we got to tell the story beyond talking to ourselves. You're exactly right.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So let me ask this. So as we're talking to other people and demographics are changing, I know that there's been a lot of partnerships, with Coalition and others with U.S. Travel Association when Elliot was chair, and of course your leadership as well. Kind of talk to how the U.S. Travel Association is kind of speaking to different partnerships, different demographics, and your partnerships with Congressional Black Caucus and maybe other organizations as you see the changing demographics begin to take place.
Yeah, we're through a very wide net. First of all, it's the alphabet soup of all the associations belong to U.S. Travel. So it's MPI, ASA, your group belongs. You think of that, but also the Hotel Association, the Restaurant Association, the Retail Association, the Franchise Association, all of those folks, the Congressional Black Caucus, the Travel Caucus, and it's bringing all those voices together. And I think that's what's important. It's just not one voice, but it's people hear it from multiple sources. And that's why we can spread our message and get it out if we all work together with all saying the same thing over and over again to our various constituents.
So is there, I know that there's been discussion, again, as you said, with Congressional and Senate and the White House, et cetera. What about when you speak to the business travel companies and corporations? We have Procter & Gamble, Kroger, and Western Southern, Macy's are all here headquartered, and some others. How do we convince those companies that they need to start traveling or pick it up, or it's safe to travel as they do business, which will help us during the weekday? So we're also leveraging that with leisure and convention business.
Yeah, I think it's by experience. I think the more people that travel, I mean, just your example of P&G, if their people aren't going to be out on the road talking, someone else is going to pick up market share. And I think that's very important. I think that's what's going to drive it. We're doing a study right now with Harvard and with Ohio State University on the impact of meetings and conventions, how safe they are, and the impact of the economy. And we get that out. We begin to talk that way and talk to people about losing market share. One of the concerns I have, Jason, is companies like you mentioned, and Cincinnati has so many Fortune 500 companies headquartered there, is the CFOs looking at the last year and saying, we saved a lot of money without putting people on the road. And then you got their lawyers saying, well, gee, we don't want to tell our people to go to a meeting or travel. What if they get sick and they sue us? So we've got to break through. We've got to show them how safe travel is, and really every time we get someone that has a meeting, has a business trip, highlight that. Tell the story of, I was on the road, I went out and made a trip to my best customer and picked up a huge new account. And we just keep telling those stories. And the rest of the folks are going to say, we can't afford to sit home anymore. We've got to start traveling again.
Yeah. So are there any themes that we should, not themes, but kind of trends that we should be looking forward? We have Andy and many of our leadership within the CVB have market updates during the week, and we speak to all the hotel communities, et cetera. What trends can you share that are coming that may be impactful as it relates to business travel, international travel, and how other cities are doing it that could help us?
Yeah, I think that there's many trends going on. That one is, I think we've been fortunate through this pandemic to have technology where it is today. I think the biometrics, the use of your personal phone, touchless travel is going to become the way we do business in the future. You're going to check in the hotel with your phone. You're actually not going to be shaking hands with the front desk person, but you're going to show them your phone and check in that way. You're going to register for your meeting. You're going to say whether you had your your vaccine or you've had a PCR test. All that technology. The other thing we've got to, Jason, we have to look beyond just getting travel back. We've got to come back stronger, and to come back stronger, it's that whole infrastructure we talk about. I once heard someone from Myrtle Beach said, "I don't compete with Virginia Beach. I compete with the highway system." And the highway system, can cripple us. Our airports, have really fallen behind, and we've got to get them back up to speed. We got to look at the future of mobility, electric cars. Look at this gas pipeline shortage. It's almost, shut down parts of the Southeast, and we can't let that happen. So we've got to look beyond just getting people traveling. And the last other trend, I think, is we've learned through like what we're doing today. You and I know each other and we've known each other for decades. But if you were a stranger, this would have been a very difficult conversation. But we have a rapport, we know each other. And I think that's one of the things that has allowed virtual meetings to take place. And that's going to disappear in a few years, especially with young people, if they don't get out and if we don't meet. So, but one of the things virtual has taught us is you and I have been on, virtual things with 2,000 and 3,000 people. That's never happened before. And I think we have a chance to not only take the meeting, but make it bigger. So someone goes to the general session of a meeting virtually and says, next year, I'm not going to miss that meeting. I'm going to be there in person.
Yeah, that's interesting. You said that. So when you speak to different demographics, you said younger people. Are there things that you're doing different, or you're seeing across the country that people are hospitality leaders are doing different that will impact those communities or engage people into traveling? Because I think sometimes we get caught up in the convention side anyway. We're dialing for dollars. Here's the RFP, and then you sign the contracts, and then you kind of push it to somebody else. But is there any innovation that you're seeing across the country that can impact those communities that you're talking about?
I think we really need to be talking about results. I think we ought to just not say we had so many people attend, but what happened at the meeting? What kind of learning took place? What kind of breakthroughs? What kind of best practices? And get people to look at meetings and conventions as, I say, continued adult learning for best practices, because I think that's so important. I think to get young people engaged in this industry, we have a problem right now. And the problem is labor shortage. Many hotel companies are telling me they don't have the people to make up the rooms, the line employees and all that. And that's going to be a problem. And we need to make this industry extremely attractive. We need to talk about, careers, you and I didn't start in the jobs we have today, but we started, a long time ago in these jobs that were, not great jobs, but boy, this is an industry that allowed us to build our career. And we've got to show young people that it doesn't matter if you have a degree from, the greatest institution in the world. If you're smart, if you hustle, if you got a great attitude, you can soar in this business, as so many of you and our colleagues have.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So again, guys, if you want to ask questions, please do. We have another about 15 minutes or so with Mr. Dow as he has to go to a press conference. But wanted to open it up to the floor for people who ask any questions. But also wanted to see, Roger, if you would give us a kind of a tip on. I know that you have a report coming about to release in a couple of minutes. So maybe there's some things you want to share with us first.
Well, yes, what we are going to share, and we're going to share with you first, is that the travel is up, that domestic travel is up. Last year was 29%. It's now 79%. So we're going to see that go way up. We're also going to see the intent to travel is going to be up. But the biggest thing is we're going to have to show people that if we can't bring back business travel, we can't bring back meetings and conventions, we can't bring out international, domestic can't do it alone. So what we're going to be talking about is bringing back those areas and what we have to all do together to bring back, because without that, the U.S. economy doesn't come back. You look at how much the economy lost, over $1 trillion from travel. That's big bucks. Yeah. And we've got to let people understand that we're the fulcrum. No one decides to move a corporate headquarters to Cincinnati, to go to school there, to get a second home somewhere until they first made a trip. I mean, everything that happens in life happens with first someone going to a trip or going to a meeting and saying, whoa, hey, look at what's going on downtown. What a vibrant area. I didn't know that 10, 15 years ago. And that's what really travel showcases communities.
Yeah. So what would you say to, just on that point, how, people, when they come to a city and they feel welcome, that they live, work, and play, create families, et cetera. What kind of things have you seen across the country that have worked for people or worked for cities that are doing it right? And what cities are doing it right? And what do you think their appeal is of getting people to bring their conventions or travel domestically and internationally?
I think the cities that are doing it right think way beyond just travel businesses. They involve the retail folks. They involve the corporations in their community and the universities and the arts. I mean, you think of the arts, and culture. A long time ago, the head of the Museum Association said to me, do you know, he said, when we have a Picasso exhibit in Chicago, we sell out every hotel in Chicago on a weekend. He said, we're the travel industry, and we've got to involve more than just our brothers and sisters that are in travel. We've got to go way beyond and get the entire community talking about this and how important it is, especially small businesses.
And with that, so I know there's a lot of when you say that, there's difficulty sometimes in getting CVBs or hospitality professionals to see the both sides, because some like you started the Marriott Hotel, you were there for decades, then you crossed over to this side. So what kind of describe your transition and being able to balance both of those things and then meet the impact that you have?
Well, yeah, my career, and it's very typical of many careers in the business. I started as a summer job at a hotel called Marriott as a lifeguard for 3 summers when I was in college. That first hotel I worked at called Marriott was Marriott's 6th hotel. I joined Marriott full-time because the GM promised me that Marriott might have 100 hotels someday. And based on that great vision, I joined Marriott and hung around for 34 years. And the one thing that was great about Marriott, I was very close to all my friends at Marriott, and we really hung together. I knew other people in the industry. I knew you and other people. But the bottom line is, in this job, I get to play with everybody. I love it because I play with so many DMO heads around the country. So many, I'm as close to the head of Hilton as I am to the head of IHG as I am to Marriott. In the other days, I just played with Marriott. The airline executives, the airlines are part of U.S. travel, cruise industry. So that's one of the fun things. I think this industry is so much fun. I don't think people realize, how enjoyable it is. I mean, just think of it. And you're manufacturing, and you're manufacturing the plumbing business. You might make some money, but how boring compared to what you and I do every day.
We got a question from Andy in Cincinnati. He says, as travel comes back, how do you feel about short and long term? What's the short-term outlook for hotel development? As you know, we need a new headquarters hotel here in Cincinnati. So what are your thoughts about development and how hotels are coming back, building, et cetera, and what does that mean? And what have you seen across the country?
I saw the past year a lot of hotel companies and hotels, especially downtown hotels, in trouble. I'm now seeing a renaissance of people starting to look at buying hotels and growing them. I think there's a lot of people that are betting that the business community and international, all things I mentioned, are going to come back and going to come faster than we think. So I think there's some smart people that are getting back in this business, investing in hotels and that downtown. Someone has to look beyond fall of 2021. They've got to look at 22, 23, 24. And this industry will come back stronger than ever. After September 11th, people said no one will ever get on a plane again to travel across the ocean, too dangerous. After 2008 financial crisis, 40% of all hotels will go out of business. Didn't happen, followed by the 10 best years ever. So I think this is a coiled spring that's going to come back, and the smart people are putting dollars back into these hotels and are going to look back and say, wasn't that smart?
So I think I hope I answered Andy's question. And as you stated, there's a lot of development happening within our city as we begin to welcome people back and prepare for larger conventions. But as we prepare for them, kind of talk about, again, as I talked about the diversity piece, just how's diversity impacted U.S. travel? I know there was a couple series last year where you had the CEOs come together and really discuss, what's happening and how do we have to have an honest and courageous conversation. I know there's input that you're working with EIC through in that partnership as well. Kind of speak to what has that meant for you personally over the years, and in the impact of it last year and moving on to this year, and what kind of things do you hope happen as we end and interview the next 4 minutes?
I'm a great believer in that leaders come along at the right time. I think we were very fortunate to have Elliot Ferguson as our chair at U.S. Travel during this tumultuous time we went through this past year and a half, because Elliot, along with you and others, when you think of all of our friends, could have that candid conversation, which might have been more difficult for, like, Christine Duffy is our chair now, head of Carnival. Yes, she could have had the conversation, but nowhere near the depth that you were able to have it, and then Elliot. So I think that's important. And as I say, we've come a long way, but we have a long way to go. And I think the work we're going to do in the next couple of years is going to pay huge dividends for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're on the right track. And isn't it a shame that we had to go through setbacks like we went through to make this a priority, but it is now a priority.
Well, let me say, I appreciate your partnership and your your sincerity in what you do and support. And from the Cincinnati family, you know, we definitely want to be a part of advocating with you on behalf of the industry. And we hope that, you know, this is not the last time we speak, but can you give your last kind of final thoughts? And we'll let you get to announcing and advocating on behalf of the industry.
My final thoughts is this is the greatest industry ever. We've got to get young people excited. We've got to bring back internships. One of the losses of this past year is we'd all have interns. We had no interns because no one's office was opening. And I think we have to lead. We have to leave it as an industry. We have to go to meetings. You and I have to go to MPI and go to US Travel. And we have to show people through our own actions that it's good and safe and productive to travel. And if we do that, we'll bring this industry back more, more quickly. And I can't do it myself. It's all of us together. It's Cincinnati and every city in the country that's going to bring this industry back. And it will come back bigger and better than ever.
Well, I appreciate you. Keep up the good work and keep empowering tourism. And through our community, we hope and continue to support you. And those who are on the chat, we'll see you all on May 27th for our next speaker series. So again, thank you so much. And have a good day and be safe. I know you're in Palm Beach, right? You're in Palm Beach?
I'm in Palm Beach. Life is tough, but I'm getting through it.
Be safe, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, you're a dear friend. Thanks, Jason.
Bye. Bye. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Eric, for
Bye.